Lieutenant Henry and Catherine Barkley have spent an idyllic summer in Milan as he recovers from his injuries in the American hospital. But there is a strong suspicion that the bubble in which they live, that has insulated them from the horrors of World War I, is about to burst. My name is Trisha Slopezio. I'm your host for Tea and Bedtime Stories. In this episode, we'll continue reading Ernest Hemingway's novel, A Farewell to Arms. Last time we finished chapter 20 of book 2, and now we'll continue the story with chapter 21. After reading the chapter, I'll follow up with quick facts and my impressions. So let's begin reading chapter 21. In September, the first cool nights came. Then the days were cool and the leaves on the trees in the park began to turn color, and we knew the summer was gone. The fighting at the front went very badly, and they could not take San Gabriel. The fighting on the Bainsitsa plateau was over, and by the middle of the month, the fighting for San Gabriel was about over too. They could not take it. Ettore was gone back to the front. The horses were gone to Rome, and there was no more racing. Kroll had gone to Rome too, to be sent back to America. There were riots twice in the town against the war and bad rioting in Torino. A British major at the club told me the Italians had lost 150,000 men on the Bainsitsa plateau and on San Gabriel. He said they had lost 40,000 on the Carso besides. He had a drink and he talked. He said the fighting was over for the year down here and that the Italians had bitten off more than they could chew. He said the offensive in Flanders was going to the bad. If they killed men as they did this fall, the Allies would be cooked in another year. He said we were all cooked, but we were all right as long as we did not know it. We were all cooked. The thing was not to recognize it. The last country to realize that they were cooked would win the war. We had another drink. Was I on somebody's staff? No, he was. It was all balls. We were done alone in the club, sitting back in one of the big leather sofas. His boots were smoothly polished dull leather. They were beautiful boots. He said it was all balls. They thought only in divisions and manpower. They all squabbled about divisions and only killed them when they got them. They were all cooked. The Germans won the victories. By God, they were soldiers. The old Hun was a soldier, but they were cooked too. We were all cooked. I asked about Russia. He said they were cooked already. I'd soon see they were cooked. Then the Austrians were cooked too. If they got some Hun divisions, they could do it. Did he think that they would attack this fall? Of course they would. The Italians were cooked. Everybody knew they were cooked. The old Hun would come down through the Trentino and cut the railway at Vicenza. And then where would the Italians be? They tried it in 16, I said. Not with Germans, yes, I said. But they probably wouldn't do that, he said. It was too simple. They'd try something complicated and get royally cooked. I had to go, I said. I had to get back to the hospital. Goodbye, he said. Then cheerily, every sort of luck. There was a great contrast between his world pessimism and personal cheeriness. I stopped at the barber shop and was shaved and went home to the hospital. My leg was as well as it would get for a long time. I had been up for examination 3 days before. There were still some treatments to take before my course at the Ospital Maggiore was finished, and I walked along the side street, practicing not limping. An old man was cutting silhouettes under an arcade. I stopped to watch him. 2 girls were posing, and he cut their silhouettes together, snipping very fast and looking at them. His head on one side. The girls were giggling. He showed me the silhouettes before he pasted them on white paper and handed them to the girls. They're beautiful, he said. How about you, Tenente? The girls went away looking at their silhouettes and laughing. They were nice girls. One of them worked at the wine shop across from the hospital. "All right," I said. "Take your cap off." "No, with it on." "It will not be so beautiful," the old man said, but he brightened. "It will be more military." He snipped away at the black paper and then separated the two thicknesses and pasted the profiles on a card and handed them to me. "How much?" "That's all right." He waved his hand. "I just made them for you. Please," I brought out some coppers. "For pleasure." "No, I did them for pleasure. Give them to your girl. Many thanks until we meet, until I see thee." I went on to the hospital. There were some letters, an official one, and some others. I was to have 3 weeks convalescence leave and then return to the front. I read it over carefully. Well, that was that. The convalescent leave started October 4th, when my course was finished. 3 weeks was 21 days. That made October 25th. I told them I would not be in and went to the restaurant a little way up the street from the hospital for supper and read my papers and the Corriere della Sera at the table. There was a letter from my grandfather containing family news, patriotic encouragement, a draft for $200, and a few clippings. A dollar letter from the priest at our mess, a letter from a man I knew who was flying with the French and had gotten in with a wild gang and was telling me about it, and a note from Rinaldi asking me how long I was going to sulk in Milano and what was all the news. He wanted me to bring in phonograph records and enclosed a list. I drank a small bottle of Chianti with the meal, had a coffee afterwards and a glass of cognac, finished the paper, put my letters in my pocket, left the paper on the table with the tip, and went out. In my room at the hospital, I undressed, put on pajamas and a dressing gown, pulled down the curtains on the door that opened to the balcony, and sitting up in bed read Boston papers from a pile Mrs. Myers had left for her boys at the hospital. The Chicago White Sox were winning the American League pennant, and the New York Giants were leading the National League. Babe Ruth was a pitcher then, playing for Boston. The papers were dull, the news was local and stale, and the war news was all old. The American news was all training camps. I was glad I wasn't in a training camp. The baseball news was all I could read, and I did not have the slightest interest in it. A number of papers together made it impossible to read with interest. It was not very timely, but I read at it for a while. I wondered if America really got into the war, or if they would close down the major leagues. They probably wouldn't. There was still racing in Milan, and the war could not be much worse. They had stopped racing in France. That was where our horse Japalac came from. Catherine was not due on duty until 9 o'clock. I heard her passing along the floor when she first came on duty, and once saw her pass in the hall. She went to several of the rooms and finally came to mine. "I'm late, darling," she said. "There was a lot to do. How are you?" I told her about my papers and the leave. "That's lovely," she said. "Where do you want to go?" "Nowhere. I want to stay here." "That's silly. You pick a place and go, and I'll come too." "How will you work it?" "I don't know, but I will." "You're pretty wonderful." "No, I'm not. But life isn't hard to manage when you have nothing to lose." "What do you mean?" "Nothing. I was only thinking how small obstacles seem that once were so big. I should think it might be hard to manage." "No, it won't, darling. If necessary, I'll simply leave. But it won't come to that." "Where should we go?" "I don't care. Anywhere you want. Anywhere we don't know people." "Don't you care where we go?" "No, I'll like any place." She seemed upset and taut. "What's the matter, Catherine?" "Nothing. Nothing's the matter." "Yes, there is." "No, nothing. Really nothing." "I know there is. Tell me, darling. You can tell me." "It's nothing. Tell me." "I don't want to. I'm afraid I'll make you unhappy or worry you." "No, it won't." "You sure?" "It doesn't worry me, but I'm afraid to worry you." "It won't, if it doesn't worry you." "I don't want to tell." "Tell it." "Do I have to?" "Yes. I'm going to have a baby, darling. It's almost 3 months along." You're not worried, are you? Please don't. You mustn't worry. It's all right. Is it all right? Of course. I did everything. I took everything, but it didn't make any difference. I'm not worried. I couldn't help it, darling, and I haven't worried about it. You mustn't worry or feel badly. I only worry about you. That's it. That's what you mustn't do. People have babies all the time. Everybody has babies. It's a natural thing. You're pretty wonderful. No, I'm not. But you mustn't mind, darling. I'll try and not make trouble for you. I know I've made trouble now. But haven't I been a good girl until now? You never knew it, did you? No. It will all be like that. You simply mustn't worry. I can see you're worrying. Stop it right away. Wouldn't you like a drink, darling? I know a drink always makes you feel cheerful. No, I feel cheerful, and you're pretty wonderful. No, I'm not. I'll fix everything to be together if you pick out a place for us to go. It ought to be lovely in October. We'll have a lovely time, darling, and I'll write you every day while you're at the front. Where will you be? I don't know yet, but somewhere splendid. I'll look after all that. We were quiet for a while and did not talk. Catherine was sitting on the bed and I was looking at her, but we did not touch each other. We were apart, as when someone comes into a room and people are self-conscious. She put out her hand and took mine. You are angry, aren't you, darling? You aren't angry, are you, darling? No. And you don't feel trapped? Maybe a little, but not by you. I didn't mean by me. You mustn't be stupid. I meant trapped at all. You always feel trapped biologically. She went away, a long way, without stirring or removing her hand. Always isn't a pretty word. I'm sorry. It's all right. But you see, I've never had a baby, and I've never even loved anyone, and I've tried to be the way you wanted, and then you talk about always. I could cut off my tongue, I offered. Oh, darling. She came back from wherever she had been. You mustn't mind me. We were both together again, and the self-consciousness was gone. We really are the same one, and we mustn't misunderstand on purpose. We won't. But people do. They love each other, and they misunderstand on purpose, and they fight, and then suddenly they aren't the same one. We won't fight. We mustn't, because there's only two of us, and in the world, there's all the rest of them. If anything comes between us, we're gone, and then they have us. They won't get us, I said, because you're too brave. Nothing ever happens to the brave. They die, of course. But only once. I don't know who said that. The coward dies 1,000 deaths, but the brave, one. Of course, who said it? I don't know. He was probably a coward, she said. He knew a great deal about cowards, but nothing about the brave. The brave dies perhaps 2,000 deaths. If he's intelligent, he simply doesn't mention them. I don't know. It's hard to see inside the head of the brave. Yes, that's how they keep that. That's how they keep that way. You're an authority. You're right, darling. That was deserved. You're brave. No, she said. But I would like to be. I'm not, I said. I know where I stand. I've been out long enough to know. I'm like a ball player that bats 230 and knows no better. What is a ball player that bats 230? It's awfully impressive. It's not. It means a mediocre hitter in baseball. But still a hitter, she prodded. I guess we're both conceited, I said, but you are brave. No, but I hope to be. We're both brave, I said, and I'm very brave when I've had a drink. We're splendid people, Catherine said. She went over to the armoire and brought me a cognac in a glass. Have a drink, darling, she said. You've been awfully good. I don't really want one. Take one. All right. I poured the water glass a third full of cognac and drank it off. That was very big, she said. I know brandy is for heroes, but you shouldn't exaggerate. Where will we live after the war? In an old people's home, probably, she said. For 3 years, I looked forward very childishly to the war ending at Christmas, but now I look forward till when our son will be a lieutenant commander. Maybe he'll be a general. If it's a 100 years war, he'll have time to try both of the services. Don't you want a drink? No, it always makes you happy, darling, and it only makes me dizzy. Didn't you ever drink brandy? No, darling, I'm a very old-fashioned wife. I reached down to the floor for the bottle and poured another drink. I'd better go have a look at your compatriots, Catherine said. Perhaps you'll read the papers until I come back. Do you have to go? An hour later. All right, now. I'll come back later. I'll have finished the papers, I said. And that concludes chapter 21 of book 2. So, quick facts. San Gabriel refers to the mountain, if you remember, named after the Archangel Gabriel. The Banjica Plateau is located in modern-day Slovenia, just across the border of Italy. The Battle of Corso in World War I took place on the Corso Plateau. It was part of the Isonzo front in northeastern Italy, near the border with Austria-Hungary, which is present-day Slovenia. It's the area around Mont Saint-Michel, and it was the focus of really intense fighting. The Corso Plateau was rugged, barren, and very hilly, and it was really challenging for both sides. When he refers to Flanders, he's talking about the 5th Battle of Flanders. There were many battles there, but it was the Belgian-French-British offensive. The word Hun is a term of contempt. It was applied to the German soldiers. The World War I propaganda machine used this analogy to basically trick Americans into bankrolling the British war effort by comparing their opponents to Attila the Hun's army, who ironically ravaged the Roman Empire as a pushback for their long reign of tyranny. So I guess it's okay for the Romans to pillage, but it wasn't okay for anyone to fight back. But anyway, it's just another example of what makes any justification for violent aggression so absurd. I really pray that one day we learn to see through this BS that we tell ourselves and abandon idiotic ways of thinking and evolve as a species. Until we do, we will never really be free and we will never thrive. That's just my little commentary, sorry. Trentino is a region in North Italy. It's just northeast of Milan. It butts up to the Austrian border. Vicenza is a small town just west of Venice. The railway to Vicenza was probably a supply line. Silhouettes are simple profiles of the face, and if you've ever seen a cameo, an ivory carving of a silhouette, it's a profile that is usually mounted on a pendant or in a picture frame. They're kind of pretty. An arcade that the old man was sitting under just means like an archway. Copper is the money that refers to the coins made of copper or bronze. It's usually a 5 centesimi or 20 centesimi coin. It was part of the Italian monetary system, with the lira being the main currency, right? It's the paper currency. Convalescence just means recovery time. Corriere della Sera, if you remember, is the evening paper in Italy. A dressing gown is just like a robe that you put over your pajamas when you're lounging. We used to call them house coats. I don't know. But maybe the formal term was dressing gown. But the American training camps is the training for newly enlisted soldiers. And when she's talking about how she did everything, took everything, but it didn't make any difference, she's really referring to these primitive forms of contraception that they had at the time. They were really unscientific and completely ineffective for preventing pregnancy. Those are all the quick facts. My impressions are, I don't know. I'm having a hard time. I think when a person just floats on the wind through life, they can't really expect good things to magically find them. Life just doesn't really work that way. But it is unfortunate that they're pregnant, because they're still children in many ways, and now they're producing a child. And it's just a prime example of why so many people object to teen pregnancies. Children need stability, security, and to learn useful life skills in order to grow into fully functioning adults who can thrive. And some people have this absurd belief that all children need is a parent who loves them. It's nice, but it's also nonsense. Human children have survived for millennia without quote-unquote love from their parents. Kids do it all the time, but they do need care, and they need nurturing, and they need a person or persons who can provide for themselves adequately enough to provide for another. And these individuals obviously don't have that capability. So it's precisely why I believe, just from a pragmatic standpoint, that anti-abortion regulations are so harmful to our societies. They think they're punishing parents by making them have, babies, but they're really just punishing the unborn child, and to a greater extent, they're punishing civilization as a whole. But anyway, that's all I have for chapter 21 of book 2. Next time we'll continue the novel with chapter 22 of Farewell to Arms by Ernest Hemingway. Please join me for more tea and bedtime stories. I look forward to talking to you again soon. Thanks for listening.